Welcome to another episode of Million Dollar Stories, where we get to interview authors from all over the world. I get to interview entrepreneurs in every industry. And now I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs. I have never interviewed somebody who specifically helps other entrepreneurs build businesses in the food business. So I'm really looking forward to this. The book that we're going to be talking about today is called Key Ingredients: How to Turn Your Passion Product into a Profitable Business. And we have the author here today, Sari Kimball. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Well, let's start off with the genesis of this book. All right. What made you want to write a book specifically? I guess this is really about helping anybody become an entrepreneur, but you are an expert when it comes to food related businesses. So let's break down the origin of this book.
Yeah, this is a book that took, I don't know, 3 to 4 months to write, but it was based on 10 years of my life, right? So 10 years and 3 months.
Nice. What
Um,
what was your first product that you put out? What was the first business? I think you've been in Whole Foods and all that, right?
yeah, so interestingly, so I did actually have a product business, very adjacent, shall we say. But yeah, I have been in the what's called CPG, consumer packaged good industry, for a long time, specifically in the food space. And while I have not had my own product, I've been selling products into stores, and then I was a buyer for Whole Foods Market and in their marketing. I was the marketing director for a big store. Um, and then when I got laid off from Whole Foods Market, I realized that there was this space here where a lot of people were trying to start these delicious product businesses. And everybody had dreams of being on the shelves of Whole Foods and Target and whatever grocery store, right? Um, and so I actually was managing what's called a commissary kitchen, where people would come and make their products legally to be able to sell. And I just realized that there was a big gap in knowledge, and that this is where we can change our food system, right? We can change the way we eat if we can help these entrepreneurs become better business owners and better entrepreneurs. They already make a delicious product. We don't need to we don't need that to fix that, but we do need to help them become entrepreneurs. And so that's where I started.
Nice. Yeah, I see a wide variety of products back there. I guess you see where they're great at building the product, but marketing it and making the right connections and seeing the long-term vision past maybe even one idea, right? The prototype is one thing, but how do you take it from that to getting it on the shelves of every store, every location, Sam's Club, Walmart's?
Right.
And do you do everything? You
Amazon,
help
wherever you
with
want
the
to go.
guidance of the beginning to the end, right?
Yeah, I do. My niche is around probably taking businesses to maybe 3 to 500K and then turning them over to people who can really help them go to the next level. But I mean, think about, yeah, that early stage of I just have a delicious idea. I make the most amazing salsa, cookies, coffee, fill in the blank in my home kitchen. And so a lot of people I work with have never been entrepreneurs before, right? Oftentimes they have a regular job, the full-time job, or maybe they're stay-at-home mom or retired. And they've just always had this thing, the little nudge, the thing that won't go away. And I especially saw over COVID, it really explode where people were like, I've been wanting to do this for so long. Why have I been putting this off? So it's really helping people to become entrepreneurs, to understand what it takes to build a business financially and to be profitable, and how you show up for yourself as an entrepreneur. When we work in a job, right, we have a boss who's holding us accountable, and we show up even when we don't feel like it, and even when we don't exactly know what we're doing. But I find that there's a big disconnect where there's a lot of idealism and a lot of passion in what they make, but then it's a lot of unknowns. They're doing things they've never done before, and becoming a better boss, becoming a better employee for themselves. Because a lot of people start and stop and start and stop, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, we can relate to that.
Oh yeah.
Because it's scary. We're doing things we don't know how to do. So I try to be that support, first with the book itself, and then I have a membership and programs that really try to help people to navigate those crazy waters that they're in.
Well, I'm looking at your book here, and it says, here are some examples of success goals my clients have: the hobbyist, the lifestyle biz, the go all the way play. And maybe you even talk a little bit about the buckets people are in, whether it's like they're just doing it on their free time, and then some people are looking at it as, I'm going to build this and just take it as far as I possibly can. This is probably very difficult if they don't know themselves, right? They don't have a clear vision. Maybe they like this product, but will they take bullets for this product? Who knows, right? So it might be very difficult to break down if they're a hobbyist, or if it's about a lifestyle, or if it's this is my legacy. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I do work with a lot of people who are like, oh, let's see, let me start at a farmer's market. Let me maybe do delivery or little e-commerce. And there's nothing wrong with that. I say, like, I don't need everybody to want to, exit to some big food company for millions of dollars. We need entrepreneurs at every stage in our food industry. And so I don't care if your goal for success is like, I am, earning our college fund or the vacation or just some extra spending money, but I'm doing something that is mine and I'm getting my product out in the world. And it's so great that we have so many outlets that are, farmers markets, online for the most part, is low barrier to entry. And you can kind of grow it, scale it as big as or small as you want. And then, yeah, if sometimes people come in and they're like, no, I want to grow this to be, $10 million business and sell and exit. So I just want people to know thyself and what they're in it for, because then we can optimize for that. And I'm really good at taking what's the end vision, and then we'll work it backwards. But we're going to make very different decisions depending on what your vision is.
You bring up a good point about 2020. I think people looked in the mirror for the very first time and reinvented themselves. So it was a
Yes.
blessing for many in disguise there. So you have a great outline in your book, and I guess it does start with the foundations. Is that what you preach more than anything? The business foundations, and then the start of the show, which is your product. And then I really want to get to pricing, because I interviewed a pricing specialist recently,
Mm.
and he just blew me out of the water when it comes to how much thought is going into certain products, even putting out prices for certain products that they know they're not going to sell,
Mm.
but it kind of brings a target audience towards another lower price product, because they say, oh, if it's worth that much for someone else, let me try it out at a smaller price point, and therefore if I like it, then I'll get there. So it's a psychological game they're playing. Anyways, let's start with your business foundations. What are you saying in this
Right.
chapter?
Yeah, so everybody wants, most people anyway, start out and say, how do I be legal? How do I set up my business? Sometimes people just jump right into the fun, sexy part of the marketing stuff, but
Yeah,
at
the best
some
part.
point,
Who gives a shit about the LLC part until it's making money, in my opinion. But this is food. There's a lot of liability, I'm assuming.
yeah, that's the tricky part is when people there's this dichotomy, because at home, right, we all make food. Most of us do anyway for ourselves, and many of us make something we love for other people. And it's easy, right? It's really easy. It's democratic. We all eat. There's no getting around it. And so I think in people's minds, they're like, oh, I make this delicious thing. I should just be able to start selling it immediately. And the reality is, in the food industry, it's highly regulated. Like your product, I don't want to be doomsday, but you could literally kill somebody with your product. And so it is regulated, and we want to be sure that we are being, very responsible and very aware of our obligation as an entrepreneur. And so that's it, I say, if you want to start a t-shirt business, like, you just print a bunch of t-shirts and you go.
Yeah.
Like, you'll figure out the rest as you go along. But with food, there's definitely those things we got to check off the list, and it can be very complex. And even if the FDA, which is our, in the United States, the agency that's regulating our food industry, they don't exactly have a ton of budget to go out and police small brands, but unfortunately, we are seeing a lot more litigation by, private attorneys that are looking very specifically for those errors in claims or in nutrition or layout and things like that. That unfortunately we're seeing a lot more litigation on small brands, right?
Wow. So
So
you help them set up, number one, their insurance, but number two, probably the structure of the company. So if and when something happens, they're
yeah.
protected. Therefore, it's peace of mind working with you.
Yeah, so it's all the things that, create a legitimate business. Like we need a bank account, we need an LLC, we're going to need insurance. We, need to make sure we're following compliance with the FDA. And many states have a what's called cottage food, where you can make certain products at home and sell them at a farmer's market or online. Even some states allow you to resell in stores, but again, there's still regulation, right? There's still things that you need to apply, be in yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Be together with. So that's the whole, let's make sure you're legal, let's make sure you're safe, let's help you feel confident that you have the business foundation set up. Then I kind of operate in three buckets. It's like we need all the business foundations. We also need a product that we can replicate out of our home kitchen. So if something's very labor intensive and requires lots of hand stuff, like that's going to be really challenging to take and resell and make a profit, right? So we need to look at our product, we need to look at the pricing. Is this something that's actually going to be profitable? And make sure that we're thinking ahead.
Gotcha. And so is there anything that you gave a few great points there of what to stay away from. If it involves, an insane kitchen or many hands, then most likely it's not a great starting point because it's not scalable. But is there anything else that you would say stay away from, whether it's the coffee industry? I've seen people get into that or maybe get into it, or I have some experience with an individual who wanted to start a dog product, food related item. And there was a lot
Yeah.
of hoops they had to jump through, and it was a lot of confusion. So there was that, and then I guess any must do's or stay away from's would be great
Yeah.
right now. Anything?
So I have a quiz that I'll give people they can grab, and it takes like, what's the easiest product to the hardest, and kind of a scale that helps people to understand, like, okay, I believe everything's doable. Everything's figure outable, as Marie Forleo says. But some things are going to require a ton more effort, a ton more money, a ton more time. And then there's like the ease of things that require very little money, very little, can be done very quickly. I would say on the hardest end of things, if it has meat in it, any kind of chicken, beef, turkey, like any kind of meat in it,
Bad news.
it is way more challenging and way more expensive. Because now we go from FDA to also adding in the USDA and inspection and just a lot more regulation. So I would say that's the hardest thing. And then frozen products can be challenging. They're doable, but if it's frozen and meat, oh my gosh, just
Ooh.
just no.
So
Unless you have like $1 million, then let's go.
I like that simplicity and speed. You want to stay away from you want to do it as efficient as possible. And so great advice there. And I've seen people get into selling, different types of meat, and I don't know how that is scalable, but they figured out a way to make a great profit, especially in their local area. So great
Right.
advice. Moving into pricing. Like I said, that price psychologist that I interviewed, I can't believe there are people out there who are experts when it comes to pricing things. How do you do it? Is it, I guess
Yeah.
maybe if there's probably a system you have in place.
I'm gonna have to go and listen to that because that sounds amazing. I need to know more. I
Yeah.
probably could learn a few things
Well,
there.
a quick little pointer. This is something that has nothing to do with food, but let's just say Gucci or Prada, right? They will he's been in these rooms. He guides these people. They will
Yeah.
create a product that they know nobody's going to buy. They'll sell a purse that's $50,000, whatever, and put it in the store, knowing that the average person can't do it, wants it, can't ever afford it, and looks at it. But they're going to say, you know what? That's a $50,000 purse or whatever it is. I can't afford that. But you know what? I can afford something as close to it, which is $2,000.
Yeah.
And even though that's at a big amount, I'm looking at something that's worth 50 and it's not that much difference. So I'm going to buy the $2,000 purse. It's such a game they're playing. It's phenomenal to realize that. So I'm
Yeah.
just blown away by prices in general now.
That's really cool. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And here's the challenge though, is that food, again, being very democratic, we all eat. And in our psychology, especially in the United States, we have many of us have a psychology that food should be cheap. That there's something that we've learned along the way that, and this is not the case in other countries, but by far the United States, we spend less of our disposable income on food, and we do kind of feel an entitlement, and some of that's to like big ag and the big food companies that have made things very, very cheap.
Yeah.
With cheap ingredients. And so the people I work with are typically, I was just on the call with somebody this morning that she's doing regenerative oats and stone milled ancient grains that you can go back to the farmer, right? And we can go talk to that person who grew this. And it's all, stone milled and all these things, which is amazing for us that we even have these choices as consumers. But compared to the product on the shelf, she's probably going to be, a $15 pancake mix versus, a $3 one. And so it can get really challenging. And, there's certain places you're not going to be able to go. Now, granted, Gucci's not in, they're not trying to sell in Walmart either.
Right, right.
So you do need to go find your places. You think about like chocolate, right? Where it's Valentine's Day, we're recording this, and it's like, at what point are you going to be like, I'm out? Like, I'm not spending $25 on a chocolate bar, right?
Yep.
But maybe you can, if it's super special. And so a lot of it's about how do you position it so that it has these amazing benefits, it has these great features that make people feel good, that it does look premium, right? If you put the $15 pancake mix in a crappy bag, slapped a label on it, people are gonna be like, what am I buying this for, right? It doesn't matter how good the stuff is in the box. So the label's really important, the design, really thinking about what are the call outs, the things that are going to really set you apart. But what I do with my clients a lot around pricing is just, we have to look at what's called the cost of goods sold, right? Everything that goes into getting a physical product that we can then sell to somebody. So first of all, most people don't calculate that correctly when you're making food.
Mhm.
And then what are the margins that we need
That's my
to
next
actually
question.
make that successful? The range that I suggest for, like, let's say you're selling on your own website or going to a farmer's market, would be like 65 to 75% margin. Yeah, if you can
That's
get
good.
closer to 75.
Wow. It's great.
Yeah. But, if something costs $4, right, you gotta turn around and sell that for 16, right? So there's that, push pull of like, well, how much will people actually pay me for this?
How much has the e-com business changed the game over the past 5 years?
Yeah.
Obviously, e-com's been around for longer than that, but I'm thinking of books, and I don't even think about putting a book that we put out into a bookstore simply because 75 to 80% of all book sales are done via Amazon. So it makes no sense for us to waste that energy. Now, it would be a nice benefit, but it really shouldn't be the goal. So when people come to you, is there a decision that has to be made where you just do simply online, or an in-person store, or just creating affiliates where you would go and say, hey, if I sell X amount of product, you get a percentage of it. How does that all flow?
Yeah, I mean, e-commerce it's generally been good in that it's opened up avenues for sales that, 10 years ago, we didn't really have, where it was only, I have to go into a store, right? That was kind of the only option, or a farmer's market. And, we have so many what I call tribal diets, right? People who are paleo or gluten-free or keto or, AIP or Whole30 or on, on and on and on. And so it's so great that, especially people like if you're celiac or, you have some specific allergy or something like that, that we have so many more options, right? Imagine just only having what's available in your grocery store. The options may be kind of limited, but now there's like, so many more options. So a great example, a client of mine who started with just an idea and now she's blowing up, is called Good Love Foods. And she has gluten-free, celiac approved biscuits, cinnamon rolls, and puff pastry. And she's mostly direct to consumer, right? So people are buying frozen cinnamon rolls in large quantities and having them shipped because they can't get these anywhere else, right?
Wow.
It's super unique. So that's beauty. That's a beautiful thing with e-commerce, right? That gives
Yeah,
us
you
more
running just ads
access.
for that? Is that it?
Is she what?
Is
Sorry.
she just running ads to get customers then?
She's been doing a lot more with just reels and social media in general, and she had some things go viral, and so yeah. So
Oh,
that's a beautiful.
that's something I never really think about, how you can get pretty creative with social media and do it the organic way. It's probably
Yeah.
the smartest way, actually.
Yeah, ads can be pretty expensive and you're competing with a lot of other things. Now, that said, the other side of it is still, 70% of people still are shopping in a grocery store. Like, when's the last time, Mike, you went and actually went to one person's website and bought their coffee or their
Yeah, you're right. Heck, I don't even like going to I mean, but I'm one of those guys that like, I just know the eggs and the bread and all that I get. I'll just have it delivered,
Yeah.
right? Instacart it.
Yeah. And so Amazon is an option for many, and we are seeing more food brands go on Amazon, right? So at least it's a marketplace that's aggregating and you could get more than one thing. So, it's two sides of a coin, right? There's more access, there's more potential customers, you can find these cool products online, and also how many people are truly taking the time out of their busy days when they could just go to the grocery store and buy the coffee there versus let me go to this specific brand and buy their coffee.
How about branding and packaging? Any tips that you recommend? I mean, this is probably one of the biggest questions they come to you with, is that how do I box it up? Who do I go to for all that? I guarantee you have all those connections and you make it easy for the people, but any tips that you can provide for our audience?
Yeah, I always call it the three C's, where you need to captivate, right? You gotta it's gotta stand out on the shelf somehow. And is it by color? Is it by the actual packaging, that it's something different that's sitting on the shelf, right? If every granola is in a pouch, do you maybe put it in a paper tube or something like that that's going to stand out different? Is it anti-color? Is it color? Is it the interesting brand name, the story to some extent? So first we got to just get, you're looking at a shelf of granolas, and those are where the call outs and the features and stuff can be really important if people are like, I'm looking for gluten-free or I'm looking for keto, things like that. But so we got to get people to just pick your damn product off the shelf first and even consider it, right? And then we need to make a connection with them. So that's usually on the back. Maybe there's a little story there about the product or about you as the founder. There's more to it, because we can't compete on price. You're not gonna be the cheapest granola, I promise, if
Yeah,
you're doing
makes
it
sense.
yourself. And so we got to connect with customers, and then we got to get them to convert. How do we actually, get them off the shelf, put it in your shopping bag, and get it through the register? And I worked in Whole Foods Market, was a buyer for a number of years, and people always thought I would help people get on the store shelves, right? We'd bring in local brands and they'd be so excited. I'm on the shelves, right? And it's like, that's like,
Step
we've just
one, right?
started.
That's
That's
yeah.
step one. Now, how do we actually get people off, get these products off the shelf and into people's carts? And so hopefully, because if you're at a farmer's market, you can connect with somebody, you can tell them the story, you can explain all of it. But when you go into a store situation or like an Amazon, basically a digital shelf, your packaging has to do all the work.
Wow.
So make an investment in a good graphic designer. I have an amazing one that I work with, and it needs to be FDA compliant. So the problem is people go and work with these amazing designers who design beautiful stuff, but then I rip it to shreds and I'm like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't say that. This has to be bigger. I'm sorry, but your marketing does not trump what the FDA says you need on there.
Mm, yeah. So don't waste money whenever most of it will probably be thrown out before it hits the shelves. That's
I mean, work
people
with
don't
a
think about that.
designer who knows FDA compliance, or work with somebody like me who can. I often work direct side by side with designers to try to explain what needs to be there before they get too far.
So it sounds like, yeah, your niche is taking it from zero to, like you said, $500,000, $600,000, and then you hand it off
Yeah.
to someone to take it to the next level. You have a chapter in here about the investment. What is the typical investment, whether it's finances or just straight up time?
Yeah. Like I said, we live in a beautiful time where almost, depending on your product, anyone could start a food business, which is awesome. That was not the case, right? For so long. You think about some of the very early people in the space. I mean, like Bob's Red Mill, and he just passed away. So we're so grateful for him, to all the blazing trails. You think about Justin of Justin's Nut Butter. Those kind of brands were blazing the trails of like bringing in products outside of our typical Nabisco and those kind of Unilever and all of that. So anybody can start a food business depending, depending on the product. It can be a lot less expensive. I would say if you're starting cottage food, you could probably get started for like $1,000 and just
Wow.
go prove it. Like let's build a minimum viable product, make it in your home kitchen, go to a farmer's market, get feedback, start making money, right? So I'd say about 1,000-ish, all the way up to, like I said, if you're going to do a frozen meat product, like do you have 500K ready to go? So, but
Wow.
typically, like a more typical thing might be like if you want to go in stores, you don't want to do the home stuff. I would say if you could come in with about 20 to 30K for most products, you're going to be in good shape, where you're working with somebody like myself, you're getting a good designer, you have some support. Because like I said, most people I work with, I actually work with a lot of engineers and doctors and teachers and lawyers. Like I think that they are like in the home kitchen playing around because they have like they go to this job that's very like rigid, and then they come and play in the kitchen, which is awesome. Because they make great products, but entrepreneurship, as you know, it's not like I just follow a formula.
No, you have to be a street fighter. I mean, every
That's
day
right.
is a new challenge, and once you're in the game, you learn more. So it does not serve you to just do it like just dabble, right? Just to do
No,
it part time. I'll come back tomorrow and look at it. No, this is a full time thing.
yeah. And even if it's a part-time thing, but you are all in when you're in. And I often I consider myself like I push people off the ledge, right? I'm like, no, no, you got a deadline. We're turning the website on in 2 weeks. Let's go, right?
You need someone like that. How many people will say, "Oh, I'm working on my website." You come back 6 months later, it's just still isn't perfect. You can't let the world know about it. No, we're hitting the go
Let's
button.
go.
Let's put it
Yeah.
out there. It's great.
Yeah. So you got to get in the stream. Like you don't learn how to swim. I mean, there's a certain amount of information you can do on the shore, right? You can read about swimming, you can watch movies about it, you can practice. But until you get in the freaking water, you don't know how to swim. So you got to get in the water at some point.
What's the chapter that says find your people with marketing? Is this where you can get creative? Is this about building a tribe or using attraction marketing? What's this chapter about?
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, people think that let me just get my product launched and then I'll make all this money, right? So, great. You have a product. You are maybe at a farmer's market or you're online or you put yourself on Amazon. Even if you got it on a store shelf, again, people are like, yay, I have a business. And you're like, no, I mean, you do, but now you have to go get people beyond your friends and family, right? Your friends and family will only support you so much. So now we need to go, yeah, open up the funnel, widen our net. How do we bring strangers into our world and become aware of us, get excited enough that they're actually going to open their wallet and buy,
Hmm.
and then buy consistently, right? It's not just a one-time deal. So, which is good because we all eat multiple times a day, but um, again, how do you get people to take time out of their schedule and their day and be like, let me go place an order online, or they don't always get to the farmer's market or whatever. So yeah, it is about I'm a big fan of lead ads. If you're going to do social media, trying to um, do B minus work with social media. This is not about perfection. This is about just getting some stuff out there and seeing what works and getting a lot out there.
Yeah,
Getting
letting the
yourself out.
culture be known of what you stand for and how you live. It's almost as if probably the owner of the company, I mean, is the face of the company. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming that the more that they show the behind the scenes, what it stands for, all that, there is a buy-in from market. And maybe
Yeah,
that's how it kind of snowballs into something great.
exactly. It's really tough when people say, I don't want to show my face at
Oh,
all. I just want the product to stand on its own. You need a really big budget to do that.
right. Oh, that's a great nugget right there. Think about it. If you're not the face of the company, you're going to try to make someone else, and you guys are the Wizard of Oz. It doesn't work without a ton of money. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. So I really coach people like they got to put themselves out there. They got to be the face of the brand. They got to show the personality. Um, Oftentimes they are their own target customer, not always. It's easier if you are your own customer for sure. But yeah, we got to get people into our circle. We need to be collecting emails at every opportunity, right? If you're going to a farmer's market, collecting emails, starting to do those emails. And I get so much pushback. People are like, I hate all those emails that I get from products and brands. And I'm like, but they work.
That's right.
So you're gonna have to get over yourself. And we got to get on email. Again, these are the things that people who just have a delicious idea don't realize all the things that they're going to have to do. And doesn't mean you have to do everything, but either it's time or money, right? You got to either do it yourself and work with somebody like me who can kind of help you learn the steps, or you go hire and you spend more money.
So, I will always think of, I'm a big believer in the whole follow your passion type person. I love that philosophy. I think that if I wasn't having fun with what I do, I couldn't do it for some of the dark days. So I think passion has to be a crucial part of it. How many people say they're passionate about their product and then they realize they are not passionate about the journey? And I think you have to be passionate about both. So do you help people discover that, or do you kind of tap into that whenever you're meeting with them for the first time?
Yeah, well said. You do need both. Yeah, that's why I went and became a certified life coach because I realized that it was not just about the product. It could not be built on passion alone. And, I am all about the business foundations and really creating good financial foundations, creating a self-managing company
Hmm.
that you could actually take a day off, right? I mean, nobody's that passionate about their product to be like, I'm going to work 10 years, 365 days in it, right? But yeah, there has to be a certain amount of passion, but I think you have to dig in a little bit deeper than just, I love my salsa. It's like, why? Going those 7 layers deep on why do this? And oftentimes it's usually never about the money. It's usually not really about the product. It's more about because I've always wanted to see if I could do something for myself and
Hmm.
I want to show my kids that this is possible. Or, it's more like intrinsic like a deeper motivation, or I'm out to change the way that, to create a more inclusive environment for celiacs to be able to enjoy all the fun foods that they miss out on normally, right? It's like a deeper thing because when it gets really hard, and it will over and over again, I mean, people who are like, before they've launched, they think it's so hard. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just getting started, right? The problems never end.
Well,
The flavor just changes,
you're
unintended.
meeting with them at a very tough time in their life, right? This is the beginning of the journey, and I'm assuming because the entrepreneurship is such a new mindset for them, you are retraining their mind, and there's probably a lot of pushback. Why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing it that way? And you have to guide them through those very dark days of business.
Yeah. I'd say procrastination is like one of the things, right? Again, like, do you do what you say you're going to do? I think that's what a lot about being a self-managed entrepreneur is. Like, anybody can be like, I'm an entrepreneur, but when you put something on your calendar, like create social media reel, do you actually show up and do it? Or are you always distracting yourself? It's like, well, the dishwasher and oh wait, the dog needs to be walked, right? It's like that
Yes.
self-discipline, I think, is one of the main things that I work on. And then those kind of deeper pieces around, people rejecting me or people judging me, and what if I make a mistake? Most, I used to say at Whole Foods all the time, my team would get so stressed, and I'd be like, we're not saving lives here, people. We're selling groceries.
Yeah. It's not life or
Now,
death.
let's,
This should be a game that
yeah,
you're playing and you're
this
having fun with.
is.
I saw a meme recently, and it just talked about how, slow down. Why are you in such a rush to get to the finish line? This is a game. You're supposed to enjoy this ride. So who's trying to create a product, and if it doesn't sell tomorrow, and if it doesn't become $1 million business, oh, I'm throwing my hands up and I'm going to be miserable. No, you are going to see people come to you. You're going to see people enjoy it. You're going to get testimonials. And this time next year, maybe you have 1,000 people who are loving your product, and that should increase that dopamine rush in your brain. So
Yeah.
it's like you enjoy that step-by-step process, and trying to get to the finish line tomorrow, I don't think it does anybody good.
No, one of the big things we do in my membership is celebrate wins. And I find that the entrepreneurs who consistently celebrate each week something that's going right, that they start to see like, oh, I'm making progress. I mean, if you were trying to lose weight or bulk up or whatever, you wouldn't like only celebrate when you finally hit the end goal. You need to create rewards all along the way and those dopamine hits. And so recognizing that, yeah, you are making progress. This is a longer term journey. And if people come to me with too short a timeline, I've been doing this long enough that I'm like, no, like not possible. And then we get into like, why are you in a rush? Why do you need this to happen in 3 months? And why do we even expect that we should be able to create people are like, I want to pay myself 100K salary. And I'm like, great, let's make that a 3-year goal.
Right.
Amazing.
You make it realistic, right? That's your
Yeah.
goal, or as a coach.
I'm all about big goals, but we got to put a timeline on it that's manageable, because what ends up happening is we put all these expectations on our business to make us feel better about ourselves. And that's not why we do business. We do business because it's fun, because let's go see what's possible. Let's see what we can create. And it's so cool to engage and give of yourself in this way. But if we put so much pressure on our business to perform, it's miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And then we give up, because who wants to keep doing something that sucks all the time?
Yeah, and if you just focus on being 1% further or better every day, then you see the difference. It's almost like,
I love that.
they take that magic pill where they go on that diet, and if they don't see any change within, a day or a week, they're like, it's not working. Wait a
Right.
second. Do you feel a little bit better? Do you just slightly? If so, you are going in the right direction. And if you have
Yeah.
one new customer that you didn't have last week, you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And so that is
Absolutely.
tough for the average person who sees all these success stories online, and they say, if it doesn't work by this time, then it's a failure. No, it may take 5 or 6 years. It may take a year, it may take 6 months, depends on who you connect with, who guides you. And I would say just don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen as fast as you want, because it never will, really.
Right.
But
I
your
love that you
website,
brought up, well, I was supposed to say, I love that you brought up about looking at other people's stories, because we have to remember, like, you're looking at people where they are now, but you got, like, they started 3 years ago,
yeah.
right? And so we can't compare ourselves to where they are now. I always recommend, I'm like, somebody will be like, oh, but this brand, they're so much further along, and that compare and despair, and how could I ever compete? And I'm like, can you scroll back all the way to the beginning? And it looks like crap, right? They had totally rough packaging. Their posts weren't great, but they were doing it. And I really believe if you stay in the game and you just keep celebrating your wins and you keep taking action and you make, you get community, you will succeed. But most people don't stay in it long enough.
Well, I saw a great quote, and it's a Jim Rohn quote: indecision is the thief of opportunity. And there are people out there right now who are listening or watching or who have an idea of that dream product on the shelf, but they're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect amount of money in their bank account, the perfect packaging, the perfect website, domain name, business name, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that means they will never get started. It's because all that indecision of, oh, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until it does hit me, but it never will. And so the individual out there who just keeps taking shots and making mistake after mistake after mistake, they're using physics to their advantage. And so an object in motion stays in motion. So as long as you just keep trying new things, somebody out there will see your enthusiasm, try your product, and say, wow, you really have something here. You know what? I know a person that would really love this. And that could be the fire starter for a whole new life.
Well said. 100%. I am all in on that.
So you have a website. I really want to highlight this because it's so well done. I meet a lot of people. Their website is not on point, but foodbizsuccess.com.
Yeah.
Please tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah. So yeah, foodbizsuccess.com, everything's under that, social media as well. Um, like I said, I help people from just an idea all the way to, I'm going to scale this and really formalize this to be a profitable business and get you to that 500K. So I have Food Business Success, which is an online program that has all the things that you need, all the everything from regulations to how do I price my profit to or my product, and how do I work in a commercial kitchen? How do I scale this up? It's the craziest thing. I don't know what the physics are behind it, but I swear it is impossible to go from here's my home recipe and then times it by 10 or 100 and it will never turn out the same way. I don't know why, but it never works. So yeah, just guiding people through all of that. And then I have a membership called Fuel, which people can come and get coaching from me. And I have some awesome coaches in there as well. We have a community feed. Because to your point, if we can just solve people's problems faster and help them make a decision, then they get into action and motion. And then motion creates more, right? And we just keep going. But most people get stuck on one problem and they just sit there and nothing happens. And then they think, well, this will never work. And
Mm.
so the community really is there to say, like, let's solve your problem. Whatever you're getting stuck on, let's solve it. And then I have a next level program called Master Your Business, which is really about you becoming the CEO. And we go from chaos of like, this is my passion product. And like we just get it launched to like now we're going to create a business that works when you're there or not. And it's still making money. Because nobody wants to create a business that they're needed in at 24/7 and they can never take a day off. Like that's not a sustainable business.
Nope. Yeah. And you get into this game of entrepreneurship to create freedom. And in the very beginning, you probably needed every aspect of the business. But the last thing you want to do is I guess it's build your life around your business. Really, you want to build your business around your life. So
Yep.
changing your philosophy as time goes is very difficult. But the website, guys, foodbizsuccess.com. Podcast. I think you have over 180 episodes. That means you're committed. That's very hard to do, guys. Resources are available, business coaching, master business, and I think you have a program called Fuel. Is that right?
Yep. So that's the membership, and anybody, it's $57 a month. So it's like if you're even thinking about starting a food business, come join, come ask your questions, and I'll tell you, hey, this is gonna be this is a $2,000 investment and let's go, or a $200,000 investment. So yeah, I mean, to me, getting those questions answered, that's priceless. And it's
Great.
57 bucks.
Guys, check out the website or her book, Key Ingredients: How to Turn Your Passion Product into a Profitable Business. It's on Amazon, and it just came out June of this past year. So
Yeah.
people are loving it. 32 reviews. You know how hard it is to get reviews, and just people are loving it. So thank you so much for your time, Sari. It's been an honor to talk with you. You're the first one I've ever met of all these interviews that is specifically to the food business. So I really appreciate your time.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. It's really fun to talk about this. Thanks, Mike.
The best way to get a hold of you is the website, most likely. Is there a social media channel that you're more on than anything else?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel with tons of research. So yeah, there's so much free shit out there.
All right, guys.
But yes, actually getting to work with me one-on-one or in my group, so it's priceless. But yes, social media, Instagram is great too.
Good
Food
stuff.
biz success.
You're easy to find, is what you're saying. So
Yes.
there's no excuse, guys. Check it out. And remember, guys, $1 million book will lead to $1 million life.